Dufferin-Caledon.
Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Teena Avery. Thank you so much for joining us today. So it's cold out. So what do you do in the cold? Sometimes you go skiing. Sometimes you go walking, snowshoeing, I guess. I don't like the cold, but I do like this event that's coming up. Joining me today, I have two lovely ladies. I have Heather Hayes, the Executive Director of the Orangeville Food Bank. Thank you so much, Heather, for joining us.
Thank you, Teena.
And we have a special guest today. We've got Nancy Claridge from Carter's Law Firm, and you're one of the sponsors of the event. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Wonderful. So let's start off. I always make the joke I don't like the winter, and I don't, but this is an important event. And for those people who have never heard of it, we're going to start with the basics, and we're going to ask, tell us a little bit about the event, what's happening.
Absolutely. So this is known as the Coldest Night of the year. It is an event that we've been running for the last 6 years at the Orangeville Food Bank. It is a national event. It runs all across Canada on the same day. So that's February 25th. We meet at the food bank at 4 o'clock. We have a send-off at 5. For the walkers, it is a 2 and 5K walk in the community. It is family friendly, although no Fidos. Fidos stay at home. And people raise money as they walk to benefit the food bank. So people form a team, and some of us form Mark's Marchers. So maybe, Nancy, you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, tell us about your team that you've got entered in for the event.
Well, my team comes from St. Mark's Anglican Church, and it's a group of us that have been participating in various community events over the years, and we've last few years we've focused on this event, and it has a number of competitive people in it. To say, you know, I said I wasn't going to be too competitive this year, but I just couldn't help it. And so, you know, we do throw down the gauntlet to get other teams out there fundraising and joining in the walk.
Are you competitive, like, amongst your team as well?
We might be. Kathy and I do, Kathy, who is our captain, and I have had some, you know, very friendly competitions over the years.
Well, I mean, and it's a very healthy competition because you're doing it for a very good cause, right? So it's a healthy competition, and I'm sure it's lots of fun. And you walk as a team?
We walk as a team, and, you know, we encourage each other as we go along, and also during the fundraising, you know, we will start you know, making suggestions as to who we should try and push and you know, see what we can do.
So is there anyone we're throwing the gauntlet down to today?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like
on the spot.
Nora LeCoute maybe up against you right now. I'm just saying.
Well, I will encourage anybody to find me and donate to me so I can overtake Nora. Yes. But, you know, right now, Mark's Marchers is in the top place, and I would be happy if people would overtake us and give us some more motivation to work harder on this.
Okay, so Heather, tell me how it works as a team. How does people...
So you sign up at CNOY/Orangeville. You can set up a team. They walk you right through the process. It's very easy. It's done online. And then once you are there, if you raise $150, you get one of these fabulous toques. This is last year's, and this is this year's. And then you encourage other people to come and walk on your team or donate. And that's really where we see the most support for the food bank. We're very, very happy with the event sponsors. Carter is one of our sponsors. Wendy Edwards is our lead sponsor, and she's been with us for the last, I think, almost 6 years, and it's just tremendous support for us. But teams are really where we make the most money. So then once you get your team set up, find your friends, find your family members, that sort of thing, get them to sponsor you, and then they can come out and walk as a team that day, or you can walk virtually. Lots of our people will not be walking that day. They'll walk at other times.
Wonderful. And let's talk about it, because, I mean, it's called Coldest Night of the Year.
Yeah.
And why is that significant? Why do you pick this time of year to have this type of a fundraiser?
Because there are lots of people who access the food bank who are cold and who are hungry and hurting. And that is the point of this walk, is to remind people that not everybody in our community has the same access to resources or the same privileges. And I am extremely grateful to go home at the end of every day and to have food in my tummy and a warm roof over my head to sleep. And for some of the people accessing the food bank, that is not the case. And certainly people are really struggling these days with their finances.
Yeah, and I think that's just so important about this event. And you know, everyone who watches the show, and if you're just tuning in for the first time, you'll learn this. I'm a huge supporter of Orangeville Food Bank, all food banks, because it honestly breaks my heart to think of somebody that's hungry or cold, or hungry and cold. So I mean, it's really important, because I think a lot of us take it for granted.
We do.
That we have food in our kitchen and a kitchen to cook it in, you know, and a warm place to sleep at night. So I think it's kudos to whoever came up with this concept and having it at this specific time of year, because there are so many valid charities and organizations that have walks throughout the year, but it takes a special kind of person to go out walking in the freezing cold.
and we're so thrilled. We've got over 50 teams right now registered to walk, and over 300 walkers so far, and that's just going to make a fantastic event. We're going to send all the walkers off at the same time. They're going to do their walk, and then they're going to come back for a light meal. And we're lucky enough that we have a new community chef on board at the food bank, and he'll be making a lovely light meal for everybody. And so many great sponsors that have come on board to help with in-kind, whether it's McDonald's or Barb at the Chocolate Shop, or whether it is Vanessa and Terry from Lavender Blue, Barb White from the cafe. So many great people coming on board and supporting that. M&M's, Laura Lee, just great people.
It is, and I'm actually glad, because normally you and I talk, and we don't ever talk about the sponsors.
Right.
And they're an important part.
They are.
But Nancy, I'm going to ask you, so why is this event important to you?
Well, I think I hear a lot about the need at the church, because we've partnered with the food bank for a number of years and have our own food cupboard, and so people come to the church, you know, all the time looking for food. Also, just at our office, I don't know if many people have seen the recent town hall meetings where, you know, we've talked about my managing partner arriving at work and finding somebody sleeping outside on a bench, and the need for getting assistance in the town. So this is a small part that we can play in providing some assistance in the town.
Yeah, it's a small part, but it's an important one,
It is.
right? Because every little bit helps and counts, and we're going to talk about that. So, Heather, I want to touch on, I mean, we talked about it through COVID, about how there's a bigger need, and people were laid off, and things, everybody's life was kind of up in who knows where. Thank you, that's the word, turmoil. But let's talk about the need now. I mean, the cost of everything, the cost of living has gone up exponentially, just within the past few weeks, let alone like over the past year. Let's talk about how the need has grown.
So in the last calendar year at the food bank, we have seen a 33% increase in those accessing the food bank. So on an average month now, we are seeing 950 to 1,000 people coming in the food bank, which are really big numbers for us. More and more, we've always talked about this, that you will see people that you know coming to the food bank if you volunteer or you come in to donate, and that is certainly becoming more obvious at the food bank. We are getting more and more working families who are doing everything they possibly can. But as you talked about, costs are increasing, right? The cost of food continues to go up. I think we heard an interview with Metro, the chair of Metro, who is saying that he expects that he's going to have to put the prices up 10% on over 200,000 items in his store, because he's getting pushback from manufacturers who also need to absorb those costs. So I think inflation is a huge part of that. I think heating costs in winter are just incredible. And I think the price of gas, too, at $1.50 a liter is really wearing on people. So the need continues to grow. And when people come to the food bank, what they're really wanting to access are the milk, the eggs, the proteins, which are the meats and meat alternatives, and fresh fruits and vegetables. And for us, we're going to have to backfill our budget this year by about $60,000.
Wow.
So probably by the end of our fiscal year, we will have spent close to $170,000 on milk, eggs, and fresh fruits and vegetables. And our milk alone, based on the need and the cost, we've had 5 increases in our milk costs this year, has gone up 171%. Wow. Our eggs are up 286%. So that's a lot to absorb. It's not something that we can really plan for. Mm-hmm. And as I look into next year, starting our new fiscal year in July 1st, I'm actually forecasting a 40% increase.
Wow.
In those accessing the food bank. And again, those are really large numbers.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. It's staggering. I mean, we always have this conversation about, you know, your goal is to not have a job and for everyone.
Absolutely.
But, you know, it just, right now we're sitting in a part where if you can help, the food banks need your help. Yeah. And every little bit counts. You know, when you're going to the grocery store and you pick up an extra couple things, maybe you're not filling, you know, 14 bags to bring to the food bank, but every little bit helps. We've got a couple minutes left. Let's just talk really quickly about some of the things that you are in need of right now. Absolutely.
So we'll always be in need of things like school snacks. Mm-hmm. Those are really important, and families count on those for us. But we're also really working on making sure that we have a diverse range of foods at the food banks. So this month we're actually focusing on things that the culturally rich community that is growing in Dufferin right now would need to access. So we're talking about coconut milk, we're talking about black-eyed peas, we're talking about rices, we're talking about mango and canned mango and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So the list can be found on our website.
Right.
And we do update the grocery stores every month because they're huge community partners, and make sure that when they're packing those bags that you're purchasing, those most needed items are in that bag.
Amazing. So we've got about a minute and a half left. Right. Do you need volunteers for the event?
We do, actually. You can sign up for volunteers, which is fantastic. Again, CNOY/Orangeville, and you can volunteer there, and we'd love to have you. In general, we need volunteers for the food bank. It's a bit of a process to start, but we have the best volunteer coordinator, Lori Robert-Shaw, mm-hmm. who we're pretty sure toots rainbows when nobody's looking. I think that's what's going on.
She's always happy. She's always smiling. She's
my good
a lovely, lovely lady if you don't know her. And I'm just going to do the call out and say, you know what, if you're not able to provide a donation or food, another way to help the Orangeville Food Bank is to volunteer. So please access that information and meet Lori Robert-Shaw, because she is a wonderful human being.
She is. I have many wonderful human beings at the food bank, whether it's staff, clients, volunteers, or donors. It is the best place to be and the best job I have ever had, because I get to meet people like Nancy, and I get to meet people like you.
Well, Nancy, I want to thank you for coming on, both as a sponsor and a participant in the coldest night of the year. And Heather, as always, thank you for coming on and sharing all this wonderful information. And I
thank you.
Wish you the best of luck at your event coming up very soon.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
And don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. There we go. Done.
Awesome.